or because in the times where they've been really valuable. People give really great advice. I've listened to the 40-hour work week guy. I can't remember his name. Tim Ferriss. I've listened to Tim Ferriss's. I've listened to, I can't think right now. I'd have to look at my phone, but they're really great. They're time consuming, and I find that the best time to listen to them is in the car when I'm like driving all the way home. I'm in there for a couple hours.
Yeah.
That's the only time. But if I'm in the grocery store or in the gym or something like that, my mind wanders way too much for me to like focus on a podcast.
You know what you might be doing? There's a 1,000-piece puzzle going on under here right
I
now.
saw one over there. I can tell you're a puzzle guy.
One.
Yeah.
So what I do like last night, for example, I just had a busy week. It wasn't a bad week. It was just like I was fried.
Right.
And then today I had a 8-hour conference to go to, and I knew we might be doing this. So last night I was like, I just need to get away from everything. So I threw my phone in the bedroom, did everything I needed to get ready for today, and then at like 11:30 I turned on a podcast. Volume was very low, and I sat down, and I thought I was going to do like 45 minutes. Next thing I know, I finish a little piece that I was working on. I turn around, it's 1 a.m.
Holy shit.
It was like, oh shit. I wanted to finish the section because I was so into it.
Yeah.
So I finished that little section, went to bed at 1:30, fell asleep instantly. I only got up at 6, so 4.5 hours of sleep. Honestly, man, it was worth it because I felt like instead of going to bed anxious
and
stressed, and then just tossing and turning maybe until 12 or 1 whenever I dozed off.
Yeah.
I was so relaxed. I just put on something random. Armchair Expert with Dax and Monica, the one I was telling you about. I got a huge chunk of the puzzle complete. Sent a video to a buddy who started it with me to show him the progress. I was so happy when I went to bed.
Hell yeah, man.
So if you're ever stressed, go to Walmart. $8.97 for a 500 piece. Throw it on the bookshelf, and the next time you're stressed out and it's the evening, maybe your kid's in bed already, and you just need to get away from the world, turn on a podcast, bust open the puzzle. It'll be right as rain by the time you're done.
I'll have to take that advice. I actually grew up with puzzles with my dad, and he used to glue them together, and we used to have them as one piece afterwards. Another thing that's been helping me too is sleep that I've just recently got that my mom recommended, and I listened to her because this is my first time living in an apartment where I have people to book me. And to make that matter worse, it's actually an Airbnb. So not only do I have to deal with new people, some of them are quiet, some of them are very loud, I have to deal with the cleaning people every morning. So even though I want to sleep in, you have the cleaning people up there moving the furniture and shit and like sweeping up and doing all of that thing. So I told my mom this. I was just kind of stressing about it. I was like, keep waking up in the middle of the night. And I know it's because I exercise almost every day. I eat pretty well. I try not to eat right before I go to bed, all of those things. So I was like, I'm almost sure it's something waking me up. She's like, you should get a noise machine. So I bought a little noise machine for $20 on Amazon, and it has a little light, which is cool. But it's like I found, at first I thought it was just white noise. I slept with that the first night, which actually wasn't bad. But then somehow, I didn't do it on purpose, but there is the button to switch between the sound. It has like 30 different sounds on there. And I discovered this by accident. I hit it and I went backwards. And it just had this like most ethereal. I had this girl over at my place the other day. She said it sounded like the stuff she sleeps with, which is like delta waves kind of stuff. So it's like that.
Okay.
So I sleep with that now, and it is amazing. It is so amazing. I didn't think I'd be able to sleep with it at first because I kind of keep it loud. So it's like, well, if I got this for the reason that I got it for, I'm going to turn it up loud enough to where I don't hear them.
Yep.
And it's not like ridiculous, but it's a noticeable volume. But that helps, man. I don't know if you struggle with anything at all or staying asleep, but that shit keeps me.
So I got lucky through my current company. And they have a free membership to the app, Headspace. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of Headspace. When I went to UT, you could get Headspace for a year for like $10. It was awesome.
On the nights when I'm stressed, it's just like, okay, I know I should go to bed, but I'm not that tired yet. I'll turn one of their like 45-minute meditations on, turn the volume down so low you can barely hear it, and dude, I never even get through the 45 minutes. I always fall asleep probably around like minute 20 or 30. So that's what I've been using. My little sister, she found a white noise on Spotify, and she's been using that. And it's funny, how Spotify will give you your New Year's summer.
Yeah.
One of her numbers like skyrocketed, and we were like, how did I only listened 50,000 hours or whatever the number was. How did you get to 112? And she was baffled by it too. And then she's like, you know what? I've been doing white noise every night this year.
Good for her.
One I haven't tried is earplugs. You
Hmm.
try
I
like the
haven't
little
tried
jellos that are supposed to form to the shape of
of your
your.
ear.
I just get paranoid about having stuff in my ear all night long.
Yeah, that, and I feel like eventually, no matter my take on this is like, no matter how perfect something's gonna get, it's gonna get all sweaty in there, you know? Like,
So,
dude,
yeah, and my
no,
ears are
like,
gross. I see the wax on my headphones after the gym. That's
yeah,
disgusting.
yeah,
Sorry,
man.
everybody. But
But yeah, man, that was my thing. Like, even with like the AirPod Pro, and those aren't like perfect to your ear, but like that was just one of those things. I just like I can't have something like in my ear like that that's gonna cause sweat. Cause like the AirPod Pros are great. I don't know if you've ever used them before, but the noise cancellation and all that kind of stuff is insane. I used to love selling those in the store because to someone that's never tried them before, you're like, here, put these in, and then you
yeah,
like turn on the noise cancellation, and the Apple Store's loud. We're in there talking.
yeah,
She's like, you're just like in your space, and it is just amazing. But even with those, it just caused that sweat factor, you know, especially when you're working out and stuff like that. And at the time I was boxing, so you could imagine like you got gloves on, and when your AirPods falls out, you can't just like pick it up real quick.
right.
Yeah, it's like you got to take everything off. So eventually that kind of got annoying. But yeah, for sleeping, I don't know. I think I'm on board with you. I don't think I'd be able to have something in my ear like that all
Yeah.
night. And also, I think if something were to wake me up at night, I would kind of want to have a level of hearing, you know, just in case
You
I need to
know,
wake up.
point. Yeah, that's a good point. Now
Especially you
you're
got
making. I'm gonna go to bed tonight. One. Anyone?
I don't want, yeah, I don't want that. I mean, but you have kids too. You got the dog, you know. It's
Well, maybe
just
that's why I sleep more peacefully is because I have him. I consider him my alarm.
yeah, insecurity.
Yeah, because like I don't think he would hurt a fly. If someone was to start come anywhere near the store and he's in his crate, he'll go nuts. So at
Mm,
minimum he'll wake me up and then at least I can, you know, get up and start. But
yeah.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna introduce you real quick. Everyone, this man across from me has been dancing all over from the Sand Dune Arch in Utah to every corner of Austin, Texas for as far back as 150 weeks, from what I can find. You've discovered some of the most beautiful murals in the town. You're working as a professional lighter. You are studying to be an RTF major in videography. And on the side, you're a content editor. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone that's listening to this podcast, I'm so super grateful to be spending my evening with Daniel Trevino, a local Austin shuffler, friend, father. He's active in the gym. Welcome to the podcast, David Saturday Night. Sit back, my friend.
Hey, David, thank you so much for that introduction.
Yeah, man.
I've never had anybody introduce me that way, and I can tell you've done your research a little bit on my pages. So that's interesting to hear. Hearing I've shuffled from Utah to Austin, that's pretty great. You actually brought up a memory of whenever I actually shot that video in Utah while I was with a couple of my friends. So that's really great. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank you for
man.
having me here.
Yeah, definitely. Was it a good memory? Hopefully.
That was a great memory, actually.
Why Utah? Did you guys want to go there or?
So they did. Funny story, I was going through like a break with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I had taken all of that time off to go on a trip to Mexico with her. And then we went on this break, and you know, I'm kind of like, what am I gonna do with that time? And then two of my friends hit me up and they're like, hey, we're going to Utah, not knowing that I had just separated from my girlfriend. They were not knowing that. They're like, hey, we're gonna go to Utah. Would you like to go with us? And I was like, absolutely. What do you need? And she was just like, I don't know, $250 or whatever it was. And I had no idea Utah existed like that. I knew it was a state, obviously from college, I mean from high school and stuff, but Utah is beautiful, man. If you've ever been before, but it
Mhm.
is one of those states where you feel like you're in like almost another planet, you know? It's the pictures that I have on my Instagram could not do justice even if they wanted to those images or to those views. And I only went in the summer. Some of those places that I went to, whenever it comes to winter, they are covered in snow. So I was there. It's
Hmm.
so hot to where my throat was drying up and I ran out of water.
Yeah.
And then I have other friends go there and it's like 80 degrees outside. Uh, But yes, to answer your question, it was a great memory. I wish to go back with some of my guy friends.
I am in a. I'm in a state of euphoria is too strong of a word, but when I got to Austin, it was at 9:45 at night. So where would 3 hours away east or west be? So I was probably like
West of here,
just crossing a little past the border.
yeah,
I get
El
is
Paso's pretty far. You drove from California then.
yep.
Okay, wow. Yeah, because I would say El Paso, I would have guessed, is at least 6 hours. I would say maybe you were around like San Angelo. I don't know if that's coming up, if that's too north. No, we don't go that way because I have family in Amarillo, and that's kind of going toward the boonies of Texas and then going up. But
Point being, all I saw was fields, and then the sunset. It was dark, and I drove for about 2.5 more hours. Found this place, and did my air mattress, the dog's crate, and I think that was it. Woke up the next morning and just saw, like, walked out the porch and saw all the forest, the mountain. You walked across the
wow,
street to the Pennybacker Bridge. Have you done that? The little selfie thing from the top of the mountain.
absolutely.
So you
Pinbacker Bridge is iconic.
we went there, and Sacramento. I probably stayed in California a lot of my life because it was beautiful. But every day, just driving around Austin and just seeing like all the green, all the forest. I don't know if it's just because I've only lived one place, but I still almost feel like I'm on vacation, and it's so beautiful here. And so I've been on cloud nine for the last 73 days of just like, wow, like this is great. This is awesome.
I love that for you, man. I love hearing that like fresh perspective from Californian person's point of view coming into Austin. Because I actually have the same point of view about California. The one time I went to LA, I was just like,
Yeah.
dude, this place is lush. Because talk about driving through the middle of nowhere for. There was a point driving to LA. I was helping one of my friends, Sarah, move over there when she went to go check it out. And I'll never forget, there was a sign when you're driving through that desert that says like the next service station isn't for like an hour or something like that. Meaning if you run out of gas, you were out
And
there. Yeah, and there's just like telephone poles. I mean, every mile or two or whatever it is in case you need to call somebody. Um, but it's great to hear that about Austin, because I truly believe the same thing. I love one thing that I love about living in this city that I don't think you'll get many other places is how, city, but you can be downtown and be around the skyscrapers and
yep,
kind of get all of that urban feel. But you could also drive 10 miles west and be out in the middle of nowhere and
yep.
you can go hike through the woods. And despite, I know it's getting a little worse lately with how many people are pouring in, but if you tried hard enough, you could go find some solitude out in the woods, probably find a nice stream of water, take a book, and have a great time.
Here, it just came. I was telling you, I went to that conference downtown in the. Do you know where the Whole Foods headquarters is?
Is that the one off of South Lamar? It is downtown. I believe.
Yeah,
I believe that that's it. That's the,
Whole Foods down there, and then the headquarters is across the street. They have a gym. There's two parking garages. One's attached to the headquarters for the employees. The other one's for the. Um, Here, I'll give you the address real.
yeah, I'm almost positive. It's off South Lamar. I know exactly which one you're talking
But it was funny because one of the attendees of the conference, it's Bowie Street.
about. Oh, I actually don't.
Regardless,
Yeah,
the one of the
it's got to
attendees,
be the one South
she
Lamar.
was here from Tennessee, and she was just like, I'm sort of glad I came to this conference because Austin, I just don't want to move to another city. I'm only 20 minutes away. You just drive this hill and like look at it. You can't even see the city from here. All you can see is
Mhm.
trees and the river.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful. I love coming out here. This is actually one of my favorite places to come whenever I was like a freshman, sophomore in college. Coming out to the 360 bridge, if later called Pennybacker
Yeah.
Bridge, it's another one. But the longer you stay here, have you been out to Mount Bunnell yet, by any chance?
Not yet.
You should. Have you heard of Mount Bunnell?
Even heard of it. I'm
Amazing,
jotting it.
super super basic spot. Take a girl out there or whatever. But it can from Mount Bunnell. It is Mount top of the hill over there. You can actually see the Pennybacker Bridge, which is really nice. It faces west, so all of those like big telephone towers that you see blinking in the
Yep.
distance at night,
Yep.
you'll see that. But if you go there during the day, you'll know you're there because you go up kind of like a stone flight of stairs, and has some really great views. There's going to be a spot where you can kind of jump over this area. I think there may be some trails now, but you go down and it's almost like a little amphitheater is built into the side of the hill. I mean, there's literally little steps of like a little rows, like you're in a theater,
I love
and
that.
people will come post up there and smoke and hang out, whatever. It's just like a really cool spot. It overlooks the water, the homes that are over there, and then it's that same view with all of those telephone poles in the
Yeah.
distance, and it's like the sunset goes right there. So would be an area that I'd recommend checking out.
Okay.
I love these hilly areas. So I'm telling you, it's a great place to take a drive, and it circles all the way back to the city.
It's funny you mentioned smoking. The last time I went on the pennybacker, we went up to where most of the people taking the selfies stopped, and then we noticed that there was another path that kept going. So we were like, let's just go back there. So we walked for maybe not even that long, 4 or 5, 6 minutes,
Yeah.
and there were at least two kids, like 15, 16-year olds, just getting super high. As they like heard us, turned around and had the super guilty look on their face.
Oh
We are like,
no.
we don't care, you guys. Like, we were doing the same thing a few years ago. Do your thing. Well,
Yeah.
not a few for me. I'm old as fuck now, but dude, it was just so funny to like stumble upon that. It made me happy. Like, I'm happy we caught them. We didn't even catch them. Like, it just like kids causing trouble. That's fun.
Yeah,
It's cool.
getting that
Good for
feeling
you.
too, like enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm assuming their parent, they probably thought it was their parents because they were so young. Their parents were probably at the main spot still taking pictures. But,
That'd be pretty
um,
ballsy if that was they were afraid of their parents. A little fun fact about me, I grew up with a probation officer of a mom. She was there for about 25, 30
oh
years.
boy, that's what she
And
did as a
that's
profession.
what she did as a profession. She
Woo!
went to Sam Houston, got a degree in criminal justice, became a probation officer. Fine one at that. But when you have a brother that was actually the bad one and will openly say he was the delinquent one and was a troublemaker and gives your mom kind of PTSD, and then you're next up in the household. You kind of get used to that. I know I wouldn't have even dared try doing that around my mom. She is like a bloodhound with the nose. I can say to everybody, I made it through the whole household without getting caught. It wasn't until later that I got caught. I think that's a great milestone, having a probation officer as a mom. I applaud myself for that. I wish that I was one of my neighbors watching me. We had this garage door that was just so loud. Whenever you would pull it up, to get the cars, that was just insanely loud. And every time I snuck out, I would just pull it open like this much. And I would just inch my way out and then just slide it back down. And I wish I was one of my neighbors one day just watching me do that. Because because the light's on outside, I'm not in the dark. Somebody saw me doing that. So it's just one of those things. I wish I was. Whenever you die, if they say you get to see everything, please let me see that once. One of those times.
I'm in a similar boat to you where I can't speak for all five siblings, but there are three sisters, one brother. My brother's older, and he was definitely the troublemaker of the two of us, and I was the good kid. But what sucked about it was we were going to a very small private Christian school in middle school and high school,
Mm.
and his junior year, he got expelled for smoking weed. Either I forget if it was on campus, near campus, the football field, but basically a location where he got caught, they expelled him.
Man.
And that was my 8th grade year. So then my next year, I'm in my freshman year of high school. And whenever one of the teachers would do roll call, and they'd be like, David O'Clair, I'm here, present, whatever. And they'd be like, is Mark O'Clair your older brother?
Oh
And I'd say, yeah.
no.
And they would make some comment like, I'll be keeping my eye on you. It's like, what the fuck? You know, smoke weed and get kicked out? Kid,
It,
don't put that on me. Project his sins and not sin. But it was, you just laugh about it now, but I still remember that happened every year. Sophomore year, junior year, those teachers, because it was such a small school
yeah, man.
that when you do something like that,
Been there.
it's like a stain on the family. Everyone knows that the Eau Clairs are a bunch of potheads now. And it was really just Mark. That fucker. I hope he hears this. Still bitter 20 years later.
And some people may take it to the grave. David O'Clair, what you said?
Yep.
David O'Clair, the pothead.
Smoked 3 times in my life. Still wouldn't think
Never
of me.
know.
The stoner. It's funny. How many siblings you got?
So I have one brother and I
Okay.
have 3 step siblings. My brother is 34 now. He actually lives here in Austin. But him and I could not be more different. We're still 2 sides of the same coin. We're still brothers. I see him and I'm sure he sees me and him. But man, growing up, I was always that like preppy Abercrombie wearing douchebag. And he was always into metal. He's always been into like Slipknot and Gwar and the Mushroom Heads and stuff like that. Always wearing all black. the Satan child that all of I grew up super Catholic. Another fun fact about my mom is she is a devout Christian woman. She sings in the Catholic Church still. She teaches CCD and all that kind of stuff. So
What's CCD?
uh how do you say it? It's basically like school. It's like catechism school that you go to.
Got
I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, that's CCD is just basically like church school outside of being in an actual Catholic school. We went to public school, but that's how they gave it to us.
CCD.
And
Could it be Cats, Christians, and Democrats?
yeah,
Possibly. That'd be a fun group.
Christian conservatives and Democrats. Club for Christian conservatives and Democrats. No, but yeah, my mom was a CCD teacher. Oh, what were we talking about a while ago?
Your brother and how you be more different.
Yeah, how we couldn't be more different, and growing up with that mother. Um, I don't know. I guess I could go back to talking more about my brother. Yeah, the same one I was telling you about who got me into The Legend of Zelda. It was great having an older brother like that I could just kind of already have the. I always told my brother this too. I'm like, you give me all of the cool things that I got about. He's super into Star Wars, loves Harry Potter. Just the brother that's just like super nerdy. You know what I mean? Like super nerdy, has all the cool stuff. Like he's the guy that has a full collection of DVDs on his shelf. You know, just one of those guys. Movie critic. Love my brother. He's one of the coolest people that I know, and it's just so fun having gotten to know him because he's like I said, he's 34. I'm 25. I turn 26 next month already, and just that age gap, and then right at 18 he left to the military and he was deployed a couple times, so he was kind of gone for a little while. And then I come from a divorced household, so whenever I was 12 I actually ended up at my dad's place, so that kind of split us a little bit. And then one day it just clicked when I was in college. It was like I knew he lived in Austin, but I was like, holy shit, my brother lives in Austin. And kind of started getting to know him. And the more I'm getting to know him, it's like, man, I'm actually like much more alike to this guy than I thought. Because whenever you're younger and your brother's 8 years older than you, he's like a full-on adult, basically is how it kind of felt. But yeah, it's been really cool getting to know that guy. Think he's quite the character.
I'm
So,
you guys reconnected.
me too, because we have a whole lot of life left to live, and a lot of cool things in this world that I want to show him along with the rest of my family. Just kind of pioneering my way through this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, to I guess elaborate more on that, I have 3 step siblings from my dad's new partner, and they're all younger than me. There's one, I'm 25. Sandra, I think, is 24. Exomati's 22. My little brother Isaias is 18. And it's really cool to have, a little brother in that regard, because it's nice being able to give somebody the wisdom that I went through, because I am one of those people that has to burn my hand on something to know that it's hot, even if someone told me that. That's just kind of how I am. And I'll hear you in the back of my head, but if for some reason, if someone's logical and they tell me, I'll take their advice. But if I gotta know, I gotta know. But it's nice to have a little brother like that I can give all this wisdom to, that will listen to me and has the height and the genetics and all of that kind of stuff, as I like to say.
I have 2 little sisters. I love them to death. And for some reason, I always wanted a little brother. And one of the harder things that made the harder reasons it was to leave Sacramento to come here is over the last probably 5 to 7 years. I don't know how it happened. I don't know where it started, but there is probably this group of like anywhere from 4 to 12 guys that from 16 years old to 25. I'm 35 now. That somehow got on my phone. We hit the gym every now and then together. We'll grab a meal every now and then together. And whenever they're frustrated, angry, sad, depressed, anxious, need advice about a relationship, even though I'm single and have never been in a relationship that's lasted longer than 6 months, I'm their phone call. I'm their phone a friend. And dude, it's again, like I think it's just partly because I'm outgoing. And I remember too when it first started happening, I thought I wondered why. Like, why would they be calling me for this? Whether it's because I'm single or I don't know, man. I just didn't have a lot of self-confidence in my 20s, and I think that they helped me become more confident in my own skin because I started to accept the fact of like, oh, people actually look up to you and admire you and value your advice. If they thought if they thought I was a schmuck or a piece of shit, they wouldn't call me. So clearly
Right.
they don't think that. And I don't know why that was so hard for me to get out of my own head. But when I was thinking about leaving Sacramento, that was definitely a thought of like, who's going to be here for these boys, you know? I'm still only a phone call away, but I think
Right. That's what I was gonna say.
there is one of those things of like we just connected physically, whether it was at the gym, a meal, a drink, a hike, a float down the river. And they're just so special to me, man. And so I felt like the universe sort of gave me my own version of a little brother. I don't know if that's weird. I'm just sort of speaking out loud, but yeah, man, just really thankful for those guys and how we all came to meet, one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I don't think that's weird at all. I think one thing I was gonna tell you is like we are our biggest critics, right? I think that that's one thing that I've had learned to deal with, and I'm still learning to deal with. And I find I try to help a lot of other people deal with that. Is that we are our biggest critics, and I think this is why I love being a photographer and a videographer, is because I can help people see what they look like. I feel that some
Hmm.
people struggle with this idea of, for instance, let's take social media, for example. People have to be like, I have to take this break from social media. And I find that a reason that a lot of people do it is because they are seeing the pinnacle of people's lives of what other people want to be seen as, like all of the good, all of the great, all of the cool things that they do. And I try to show people that, like, hey, like, you can look like this too. It's just a matter of getting that kind of stuff taken and produced for you. I was like, but that's not really what it's about. What it's about is putting what you're passionate about out there and whatever is making you happy out there. So I find that, I don't know, kind of relate to that right there, being the biggest critic part of it.
No, we are. I wanted to ask all the guests if there's anything in life from either the past that's gone or maybe even now that you're currently struggling with. Not because I want this to be a sad podcast, I want it to be motivating. I want
Yeah.
people to hear it and get like fired up. For example, I'm anxious. I didn't go on Instagram, take a self post, I'm anxious. I turned on a podcast and I did my puzzle. No one knows I was anxious. No one knows how I solved it. But I wonder if there's anything that you'd be willing to share, whether it's job search related, career related, maybe something as a teenager that that's now even a funny story, but something that you've struggled with in the past that you think people could learn from.
I would say something that I've struggled with in the past and something that I still struggle with today that I think a lot of people can relate from is the typical imposter syndrome. I think that whenever we I think it really hits us the hardest whenever we are trying to pursue something, or whether or not trying, do. Like Yoda says, there's no try, just do. Whenever we are, oh, I love it. Your dog licked my foot. Always a good sign. But yeah, that imposter syndrome. I find that whenever we are pursuing something that we actually really love, I feel like that's whenever it tends to pop up the most because we care about that and we actually want to do that to the best of our abilities. But if it's something where it's a transient thing where maybe we were in a corporate position and now we're doing something else and it's like a big risk, or it's something where maybe we just didn't have enough confidence about it, whether that was because of us being new to the industry or maybe because we were struggling with something like anxiety or depression or something like that, and now we're stepping into this realm of maybe the people that we see as the bright, positive social media people that have it all together. And now we're stepping into that. Um, Whatever the case may be, I find that for me, that imposter syndrome has been what has held me back the most in photography, with shuffling, with being in the gym, all of those things that I love to do. Just because you get on social media and you see the best of the best, or what your eyes see is the best of the best. And whenever you start trying to do it, you're like, oh shit, that's not me. Like, I'm not doing that. These people are doing it so easy. And especially whenever you see it as somebody who's close to your age too, where you see them doing the
Hmm.
same thing or younger, and it's like, oh man, like I'm never going to be able to do this. But in all reality, just the fact that you have put some energy towards that. I'm a very big believer in energy and where we apply that, because that's what we are. We're energy beings. We're in this vessel right now and we're living life in this body that we're in right now. I believe that whenever you put energy towards something, the universe is going to give something back to you, you know? And just the simple fact that you're putting in that energy, as long as you can say I am, fill in the blank, and identify with that, that is what you're doing, you know? And I think that that's half the battle for it, you know? For me, as soon as I started doing that with the help of my friends, I'm very thankful for my network of friends and family that have been giving me feedback. I think people from my generation value a lot of that feedback, at least so I've been told, and I can agree with it. I would say there's a balance towards it. But yeah, man, if you can get over that imposter syndrome and believe that this is who I am, I'm doing these things, let's not care about what other people say. Stay away from social media right now if you have to, and just focus on that. I think that with time, you and the universe are going to get you to wherever you're trying to go. You know, it's only a matter of time. You know, the 10,000 hour rule, one book that I'd recommend is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I'm not too sure if you're familiar with him.
I read the newest one.
Um,
Why can't I remember the name? I read it.
David and Goliath is one of the newer ones. He has,
I know who he is, though. Yeah,
yeah,
not to
he's
distract from
no,
10,000 Hours.
no worries. Yeah, that book. For listeners, if you haven't read the book, fun fact: I actually bought this book because I had heard the guy, and I read the book drunk while I was back home visiting my dad. I got drunk with some of my high school friends, and the book was on my kitchen table, and I just felt super inspired to read it. And I sat there for 2 or 3 hours and read that shit until I got tired and passed out. But what I got from that book, I still need to finish it. What I got from that book was it was talking about like the 10,000 hours. And yes, you have to be real with yourself and understand that some people are just born at the right time and they're in the right place and they do the right things and it just happens, you know. It talks about like not Bill Gates, but there's another Bill something that was within the computer industry, and his school had this computer lab where you could only punch in for a certain amount of hours, but he found out how to hack that hours and was able to study in this thing all night long. So when people at the time when computers were such a new thing, he was only where some people only had such a small access to these just in general, and then if you had them, you only had a certain amount of time on them. This guy had it whenever he wanted. So yes, of course, this guy's going to be steps ahead of everybody
Yep.
else, you know. So you have to understand that yes, some people are starting in different places than us. But the book then goes on to talk about how if you're putting in the 10,000 hours, put in the effort, you can become a master of whatever you're doing. So to round about that point, with that imposter syndrome, it all starts just with those first steps and identifying with the fact that this is who I am. And as long as you can actually identify with that and believe that, look in the mirror, say affirmations, at least say it out loud. Like, I am a photographer. I am a great photographer. You know,
I'm a great
where,
podcaster.
yes, you are a great podcaster, David. This is great.
Thanks.
I truly believe that you can get there with the help of yourself and with the help of the universe. I truly believe in the law of attraction. I believe there's another book that I'd recommend called The Four Agreements. That is fire. I'm actually reading it right now. On the first agreement, I'm talking about it to you because I truly believe in it, talking about in the power of our word. Just like I had said earlier, like I believe a lot in energy. Our word is energy, you know. If that's why those affirmations are so powerful, and that's why, just like our thoughts, whenever you were talking about yourself in a certain way, one of my best friends, he used to tell me in college all the time, I used to be like, oh, I'm so weird, man. Like, this girl's not going to like me. I'm so weird. And he would straight up tell me, he's like, of course she's not going to like you, Daniel. You're the first person to say you're weird. Of course you're going to be weird. He's like, you're not weird. Don't say you're weird. You know? And I always tell myself that, whether it be about being weird or anxious or not qualified for this position, it kind of rounds that back to fighting that imposter syndrome. And I think that that's been the biggest obstacle for me to bring it back to that point. Um, Struggling with it could be really be applying to anything. I think to me, imposter syndrome is whenever you want to do something, but you're telling yourself that you are not that. You're not capable of that, and you're not that person. To me, that's imposter syndrome. And I think as soon as you can kind of coach yourself through that and believe that you are that person, just like you are your biggest critic, you are your biggest superstar, you are your biggest supporter. And as soon as you can find that energy and believe that, go zero dark 30. If you got to do it by yourself, do it. But I will tell you that for me, at least in my experience, whenever I found something I was passionate about like shuffling or getting into fitness and getting into the gym, or now most recently with this photography, videography thing, when you talk about it and you say you're going to do it and you start doing it, people will support you. And the other people that don't support you, they really don't probably be in your life.
That's so true. Hell yeah. Um, I could riff off that for a while, but what I'll just say is a couple things. One, I agree with you 100% that once you start speaking out loud, I don't know what it is, but it really is. It's almost like when I was getting ready to move to Austin, when I was getting ready to start the podcast, I would never verbalize it to people, and I just started verbalizing it to everyone, and it was almost like I was doing it so that if I didn't, then all these people would be like, "Oh, you're a fake," or I don't even really know what I'm trying to say, but it's almost like I was committing it to myself by like telling my mom I was going to do this, and then by telling the parents
Absolutely.
at the dog park,
Absolutely.
and then by telling my friends at the gym. It's almost like I was telling it to myself. I almost wasn't telling it to tell them. You're putting it out in the universe, and now it's more out in the universe. And now I'm looking at apartments, and now I'm calling my friend who has the podcast to ask him what kind of mics I should buy. And here I am in Austin with the podcast. So first, I definitely agree with you 100%. There is something about the power of words where you just start saying, whether it's to yourself in a mirror or you're talking about your dreams with a friend, and taking those dreams. Stephanie McMahon, the chief branding officer for the WWE, you know who that is by
I do.
chance?
I know the McMahon. That name rings a bell. I was one of those
She
kids that watched it.
she had this interview. I didn't even watch that much WWE as a kid, but she had this interview where one of the questions asked to her was, if someone stopped you in a coffee shop and had 2 minutes with you and you could give them any piece of advice, what would you tell them? And she would say, take your dreams and turn it into a goal, because your goal you can achieve. So if you want to be a shuffler, is there another shuffler? Is there a shuffling community on Instagram? I know there is because I found it after following you, that you can maybe follow. And is there a free YouTube page where you can start learning how to shuffle? And then is there a place that's sort of secluded in your neighborhood where you practice for 20 minutes if you want to lose weight? Instead of saying it would be nicer to be skinny, put that into plan. What's a local gym that I can sign up to? Put a number to it. I want to lose 20 pounds. If it's financial, instead of just saying I want to be rich, well, what can you do on the side? Can you start a podcast on the side? Can you monetize your photography? It was such a little phrase, but I love how she said to define it. Don't make it vague and
Yes.
abstract of, oh, it sure would be nice to not live in my hometown my entire life. For me, it was a plan over the last 3 years where for my day job, I interview people all over the US. And so I just started asking them. I'd be like, all right, you live in Utah in Salt Lake City. What do you like about it? What do you hate about it? And why should I move there? It's an easy icebreaker for an interview. People love talking about their hometowns. And then eventually Austin just caught popping up over and over again. And then all these podcasters started moving to Austin. Comedians started moving to Austin. I was like, fuck it. I'm moving to Austin. The universe is telling me,
Yeah, that's how it
go.
happens right there. Thank you for making that so clear about all these people are pouring in here.
That's it's the universe. It's not us. It's not Californians.
Everywhere.
It's the powers that be, you know?
Yeah, yeah, man. Go to Austin.
Go to Austin. Everybody
In your sleep, right up in your ear. Go to Austin.
watch, the zombie apocalypse is gonna break out here. It wasn't God, it was Satan. No, I'm kidding. No, I agree with you, man, 100%. And the last thing I would just say about the book 10,000 Hours, I haven't read it, but I have my buddy Colin. I'll give him a shout out. He just turned 17 years old, and when he goes to the gym, he can put up 6, 7, 8 squats, 275 pounds, no problem.
Nice.
This man is a monster. And he didn't just wake up one day and do 275 pounds, because I think that the gym is a place especially where you can look at people and be like, man, I wish I was there. Like, it's so easy to compare ourselves to other people, but Colin didn't get there overnight. That was hours and hours of training, choosing to be in the gym versus when I was a teenager, I was out doorbell ditching my neighbors. I was playing laser tag. I was playing basketball. I was playing a lot of video games. I wasn't putting in work in the gym, so I could see it easy for like an onlooker to look at Colin, but Colin, he put in those 10,000 hours and he's reaping the benefits of being the super strong young specimen of a human being now, you know?
Yeah, man.
It's and so I just want to agree with what you're saying that one, don't compare yourself to others because that's just going to suck all the joy out of your life. And two, if you want to be good at something, define the goal and just get to work, and you're going to see yourself get closer and closer every time you take action.
Absolutely, man. I think whenever I like how Miss McMahon, like you
Mhm.
had said to define the goal. I've been told that before, and I think it really does help a lot to make it tangible and make it achievable as well too. And whenever you do achieve that goal, it's going to give you a new perspective. You know, it's good to not see. I'm a futuristic person. One of my mentors in the world made me take this Cliff's Strengths test. Too sure if you're familiar. It's pretty used in corporate spaces. Kind of just like Myers-Briggs type situation, but it gives you, I think there's like 40 different traits, and you take the test and it gives you your top five, and you can pay for the other ones, but you get the top five. And I think number three was futuristic. So I love talking about the future. I'm very optimistic. I love the world we live in. Like to get into politics. Probably won't do that here, but
That's not.
it's so much that I don't look for it, man. And I get on Twitter, of course, and I think Twitter is like the millennial newspaper, so you're gonna find it. Um,
I'll say one thing about the news that only because it has nothing to do with the news. Do you know who Ben Shapiro is?
I don't know. Shapiro sounds familiar, but I don't know
God
Ben
darn it!
Shapiro.
You won't appreciate this, but just since I know at least one person who's listening will know who he is. He talks. Let me think about this for a second. So he talks like this. When he talks about starting a podcast, he talks like this. It's super, super fast. He talks about politics and Democrats and Republicans, but a little bit. And one of my friends back home, he listens to him every morning on 2 times speed.
Oh gosh, I
When
don't
he
even know how
told
people
me
listen to
that, I was just
anybody
like,
on
why would you do that? You can't even understand what he's saying at that point. Like,
what
because
kind
it
of
makes me
download of
sweat and just thinking
information is
about it.
that?
Anyways, so when you're thinking about the future, what kind of things are you thinking about?
So whenever I'm thinking very optimistically about the future, I've had some pretty cool experiences here in Austin. You know, the town that I'm from has like 1,000 people. Both towns I'm from have a combined probably 3,500 population. Let's say 4,000, just to really spike that number up there. Um,
Round up
yeah,
by
I round up
500.
by 500 and
That's
set a
pretty generous.
big town. Yeah, I mean, I used to go up north to Uvalde to the city, where they had HEB and Walmart and, a couple other places like Hibbett's to get some sneakers and bells. Then you could really go to the city up to San Antonio, but and that's in one of the small towns I lived in. But I would say that when I think of the future and I think of the positivity of the future, I think about where I've came as a person. When I was 18, I took a leap and I went to school at UT because I had a little bit of money that was given to me and I was able to get an engineering school there. Don't do engineering anymore. That was crazy. But I came and it brought me out of my town and it moved me to the city, which to me was awesome, dude. When I came to Austin, I feel like there's a lot of people that come that are very unappreciative of life and very unappreciative of things. Because to me, right now, all of these experiences I get to have, this city's beautiful. The people are beautiful. There's a beautiful lifestyle here. And that's why it kind of gets under my skin when people are that way. But I do see the good in things too. And I've had some really, really great, lush, precious experiences here. And since I've been able to go to other cities like Chicago and LA and things like that, and that goodness that I feel, I try to see that in my future. Once, like, let's say, I reach my dreams. I'm a professional photographer. I'm making all of this money. Well, what are you gonna do eventually? You gotta get tired of things at some point. At least this is how I see it. All of the partying and all of that stuff. My grandpa was a month shy of 99. That is almost four times, half times my age. That's a long time to be alive. You know
Yes,
what
it
I mean?
is.
So it's like, at some point, I'm gonna get to a point where I'm just like, yeah, like, this shit's getting old. Like, let's do something new. And I really do believe that we live in a world where people were to find a reason to love each other and put all of our money towards the greater good and try to figure this out. I really think it's possible. I see when things happen, um, And it is unfortunate that they are tragedies. For instance, and I'm sorry for viewers if this is touchy topics, but let's for instance talk about like the earthquakes that just happened. Was that in Turkey? I think.
I don't know.
Okay, so there were some really bad earthquakes in Turkey. I'm pretty sure. I think it was pretty sure it was Turkey, like really bad earthquakes, and it was really devastating for a lot of people. And yes, that is where help needs to go. But when things like that happen, it's really interesting to see how fast some parts of the world. I don't know. This is where I don't know politics too much. I don't know how where the funds are coming from, but I know people came up with billions of dollars to start fixing things over there. You know what I mean? Let's take the earthquakes out of the picture now. Why can't people like the rich like that or whoever it is, why can't we come up with money like that to solve problems that are, in my opinion, almost just as devastating, like people living out on the street and already not having a place to stay, things like that. And I understand, there's this weird line of what the world's going to look like and giving people things, charity, people aren't going to want to work anymore, economics, all that kind of stuff. I didn't go to school for this. I don't know what it looks like. But what I do know is that if we're going to bring things back to our country, um, seeing how messed up things are here, like with the homeless population, the prison population, with the education system, stuff like that. I I don't mean to make this sound so negative. To re-round it back, I really do believe that we live in a time where people are eventually going to have enough, and there's going to be enough money in the economy where people can start to work on these things. And I really hope that I and look forward to the day where I can actually see this stuff happen. You know, because I do believe that it's something that could happen in our lifetime.
I think it could.
So I know for me, if things go the way that I plan in my lifetime, and let's say, I'm a multimillionaire by the age of 35, 40, and hopefully a lot more than that, I think that my goal in life is to have my platform and to speak how I'm speaking now and have the money and the means to actually start making changes to this. And I applaud every other person in the world who's doing this right now with their own time, getting to a very philanthropist type, how to say that, like that, starts with an H, just like giving back to people. Well, it's like a human, it's like somewhere in that realm word, but just giving back to people and working on the place that we live in and the place that we call home. Because for me, like, I know what it's like to live in my means right now. I don't have any money by any means, but I'm pretty sure if somebody gave me $1 million, or let's say $2 million, it's gonna change the hell out of your life. You know what I'm saying? And just to know how much money is out there, it just blows my mind how there are some of like the atrocities that we see today, like people out on the street. And what makes it hurt even worse, especially having my brother being a former military person, is a lot of them are former military, out there where people, I said we weren't going to talk about politics. We can swing away from this.
No,
But
actually, I have a follow up for you, but
okay,
continue.
just something that needs to be said that I think is really fucked up in the world we live in is like people, it's a lot of them are military. And yeah, I mean, there is like mental health is a very big thing that needs to be talked about. And a lot of those people struggle with mental health, and that's why they're not going to get jobs and they're not getting help and stuff like that. But you tell me, if you went to war and had to go do all these crazy ass things for a country and now you're not getting any support and it takes however long to get through the system and actually get some good support consistently, you go try that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really, really tough. I hate to start talking about that. We can totally swing away from it. I know you said you had a follow-up question. But I guess to round it back up to some positivity, I really do believe in a time that we live in with like the digital age, I like to call it, a very informational age that we live in. I think that, there are many other people out there like myself. I'm just waiting on my break to grow and be able to put money forward, because I feel like once you do, other people will too. They just need a reason to get behind all of this kind of stuff. I don't think people are going to blindly start throwing their money at stuff, but I feel like there are some people out there that are already kind of doing this thing that I respect, that are just very inspirational. I wish I could name some. I know like there's one
I can name some for you.
Flower in Spanish on Instagram. I love her on Instagram. It's very big with like immigrants. But yeah, if you could name a few, and if you had your follow up question, I'll stop talking, stop yapping for a second.
You ever heard of this book?
Have no
This is
upstream.
called Upstream. Let's see for the camera. Yep, it's Upstream. the quest to solving problems before they happen, and it's essentially different case studies. And one of them, have you ever heard of Rockford, Illinois?
No,
Rockford,
forget. I
Illinois.
lived under a rock growing up, so I always tell people this. It's like I grew up for a good time of my life without internet, and I don't blame it on that. But
Thank you,
yeah,
sir.
of course, there's a lot of movies that I haven't seen or celebrities that I don't know or anything. But anyway, carry on.
So
Rockford, Illinois.
the mayor of the town spent his first 9 out of his 10 years trying to solve the homeless problem, and no matter what him and his constituents did, the problem it didn't change in the entire 9 years. So he went to a conference, and I'm forgetting a point of the story, but he took away something from the conference about, I think it was just about as simple as like getting organized. And so he called a meeting with the head of the fire department, the head of the police department, the head of education, the head of homelessness. Like he got all these city officials that normally wouldn't work together, together for a meeting. And they created, I fuck you not, an Excel spreadsheet, and they started with just the veterans. Instead of tackling the entire city's homeless population, let's look at just the veterans. And so instead of just putting the job on the people tasked with solving the homeless problem, they got everyone that was in some sort of governmental city position together, and they created an Excel document that said David lives on 6th Street and he's currently homeless, and his biggest problem is he doesn't have a job. And Daniel lives off of Highway 360. He also doesn't have a home. And so essentially, they got the names of the 154 veterans in the city. They got their biggest problems, their location, sort of where they were. And what they started doing was instead of either putting them in jail for the night if they were causing trouble, their ultimate goal was to get everyone into a home. Because if you think about a homeless person, what are they? It's a person without a home. It's you and it's me. The only difference is they don't have a roof over their head. That's the only difference, man. And if I was homeless, I don't know if I would have the mental capacity to think about how am I going to provide for my kids, my dog, how am I going to provide the next meal? Like, we don't even know where we're going to sleep tonight. So of course these people are going crazy. Like, why wouldn't they? They have this whole list of laundry list of problems that you and me can't even relate to. So the mayor said, let's get a roof over these people's heads. And so what they started doing was they started checking in on them regularly, just having a conversation with them. And if they weren't in like the area that they normally were in, they would start checking in with the different store owners. And essentially what they did without changing the budget, let's say the budget going into this to help homelessness was $10,000. They didn't increase the money. They didn't decrease the money. It was the exact same. But essentially, they increased the amount of affordable housing in the city. They would pay for someone's first month rent, their first 3 months rent. Once they got them into a home, they would help them get a job. Guess what they got the veteran homeless population down to?
What's that?
Functional zero, which essentially means that if it takes the city 30 days to home 4 homeless people, the number of homeless people is always between 0 and 4. So essentially every 30 days, if anywhere from 0 to 4 new people become homeless, they would have those people back in a home within 30 fucking days. And so what they did after that was in 2018, I believe. And then they turned the problem, they focused next. Okay, we got the veteran problem solved. Now let's start focusing on the teens. Let's get all the children off the street. And I haven't checked in. I don't know these people. I have not followed up on if any new developments have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that story gave me 2 things. First, gave me a lot of hope that someone finally figured it out. All we have to do is get a roof over their head. Like you were saying, $1 million. We don't even need to give them $1 million. We might just need to get them 3 months rent, and they might be able to get their life back on track with just that. The other frustrating part is just why has this case study? Why did it not go viral?
Right.
Like, why can a cat video go viral? But we solved a fucking homeless crisis. Why are they not just disseminating that to every city, every government across the U.S. and replicating it and tweaking it? Because it'll be different in Sacramento and in Austin and in Dallas than it will be in Rockford. We won't be able to copy it exactly, but we know what the main issue is. We just need to help them get their sanity back by putting a roof over their head.
Right.
So there's hope, man. I hope that somehow this case study goes viral and cities start rallying together. And I think that's the problem, is that people don't necessarily want to take ownership over something that's not their job. Well, I'm the
Hmm.
fire chief. I'm busy putting out fires. I'm the police chief. I'm busy chasing criminals. I'm not trying to knock the firemen or the police station, but maybe it just takes city officials coming together and people saying, "Hey, you know what? This isn't necessarily my job, but I can do something about it. So let's get some unity going and do
Right.
something about it."
Absolutely. I think that's really powerful, and I appreciate you sharing that because I had no idea that that was a thing that had happened. I really believe that people, whenever they have that unity, like you said, whenever there's a purpose and something that they can get behind, a lot of us, can really start moving and things will snowball together. You made me think of this one local person. I still want to know who it is, so if y'all can find them, I can meet them. That'd be really great. But I used to favor drive. For side money. It's one thing that I believe that if you really want to move to Austin and hustle and you have a car, you can totally do that. Just to make like dollars an hour, $25 an hour
You
doing
talking
that.
about like ride shares, like
Right,
Uber?
like favor, no favor. It's like kind of like Uber Eats, sort of, but it's local. They're owned by HEB.
So I have a buddy named Jesse who's trying to move to Houston, and he says he can't because of money. Jesse, there's your answer,
There
my
you
friend.
go.
Favor drive. Get out
Yep,
to Houston and start favor driving.
favoring, dude. I mean, because I do here. I'll talk about my topic. It's going to be about food trucks for the homeless. So if I forget, that's what I was going to talk about. But yeah, favor driving, man. Yes, it takes a toll on your car. I guess that's one thing. But I mean, if you're struggling to pay rent, that's the later things would be. If your car's in good shape, if you're worried about it driving 30 miles or something, yeah, maybe favor's not your thing. But I mean, I drive a Camry. I don't mind it. I get 30 miles to the gallon. So for me, whenever during my experience favor driving, what I was going to say is a lot of people would be like, "Oh my God, like you were such a great favor driver, like blah, blah, blah." And I'm just like, in my honest opinion, I was just being kind of myself. I didn't really think I was going above and beyond. I wasn't like trying to suck up or anything. I was just being how I would want it to have been me. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of shitty favor drivers out there. And what I'm saying is, if you can at least be a halfway decent favor driver, you're gonna get tipped pretty good.
Hmm.
I used to live off of that, dude. Like, I'd make $100+ a day favor, which to me is fine. If that's all you're doing and you're just trying to stay alive just to be in Austin, that's like $600 or $700 a week. If you can't pay your rent with that and just do the bare minimum, don't go party or nothing. You're here. Your job is to be here and be in this environment because this cultivates a healthy mental space for you. And there's other people. Go for a walk. You can network and then grow from there. Start a side hustle. Upgrade and start lifting or Ubering people where you can market yourself and sell yourself in the car while you're talking with people. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, Favor's really great. Shout out to HEB. Go to HEB. It's a local Texas
I
thing.
do. You know why?
Why is that?
Because here everything's better.
We don't say that.
I
We
know.
just
I know
my
they don't.
my brother would hate you. My brother works for HEB, that's why. So, but yeah, what I was telling you earlier, the inspirational thing while I was Uber driving, is I picked up groceries for somebody at HEB. They're partnered together, right? HEB is Favor, so you can come through Favor. Picked up the groceries, and I ended up going to this like community. I think it was South. I can't remember exactly where it is. I have one of their flyers packed away somewhere. But so you help me find this homeless community, that'd be great. But I went and I drive into this community, and I'm gonna be honest with you. The first thing I thought of was I'm in an insane asylum, or like in an asylum for like crazy people. I mean, because there were some people. I remember there's this person crossing the street, and just the way they were looking at me, it gave me like a Shutter Island kind of vibe. I'm not going to lie. And I was here to deliver some food to people, and I get there, and when I realize that it's multiple homes in there, and I just got an address, I'm like, well, shit, how am I gonna do this? So I had to park my car and start asking people for help. And I found one of the workers there, and he kind of gave me the scoop of what it was. And basically, this place started out, from what I remember, was a food truck. I think they sold fish or something like that. And every Thursday, whatever day of the week, they would give out food to the homeless. And it was just like a normal thing, like a routine thing that they did every week. And this eventually grew into what it is today, which was a bunch of tiny homes and little small homes for former homeless people that would live there. And there was a chow hall, there was a grocery store, everything that they needed to be there. And there's rows of houses, like little neighborhoods and stuff. And that was just so inspiring to me because that's all they need. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's kind of what you're saying. A roof over their head. It's getting them for all of the people who don't want them all around downtown because X, Y, and Z is happening. Well, now they have a place where they're there. They have all of their essentials, a place where they could have access to therapy and, start a road to recovery, have a place where their family can come visit them.
Mm.
Just all of that kind of stuff. It's really great. And I love that we live in Texas and we have so much land for this. You know what I mean? It's just like so much land for this, so much resources for things like this to happen. That's futuristic stuff that I was talking about. I think about some outlandish shit and I have it written in my notes and stuff like that. The one day, once I have the means and I meet the right people, I've seen what money can do. I know what money can do. I know how capable it is here, especially in the capitalistic world we live in here in America. It's really exciting to think about. I try not to let the negativity get to me. I really don't. It's just more of a matter of like a race of doing this, getting through all of this basic levels of freedom just to get up to that point. Because I am also one of those people that believes you have to put your mask on before you put it on others. And I have to focus on myself and really grow. Like I said, I have a little daughter that I have to take care of, a family that I need to help out, and be that person that kind of gets us to that next level in life. So it's kind of just like a little race for me. It's like a friendly little competition. And that's why I love living in Austin, because I think all of the means to get there exist here in this city.
Yeah.
Pretty great. Sorry, that was a lot. I can talk a lot sometimes, go on a little rant.
Oh man, it's awesome. Do you think your daughter has changed any of the way that you view the world, or do you think
150%.
And tell, as a childless man, what Scarlett, right?
No.
No.
I don't think I ever told you. I said, did I? Did you see it from the
Hang
page?
on.
Is that how
hang
you know?
on.
Okay,
It's gonna come back. It is.
like,
It does start with an S, doesn't it?
You're right. You almost said it. It's
One syllable or two?
3 or 4.
I was hoping to say one.
No.
Just tell me.
No, her name is Serenity Faith.
Serenity.
Serenity is the name. Serenity. Yeah.
Serenity.
Yeah, serenity, like peaceful, calm.
Like that.
And I think she'll grow into that. She's not necessarily the most like a little crackhead like me, but I love it. I love her so much. I think I've had a long journey with her, and I love where we're at right now. I'm excited for where we're gonna go, especially like seeing just the little personality that she has, the intelligence that she has, just her level of understanding, and just how pure I think just little kids in general are. And just other little things. She's like my little star seed, I say. Like she's just so the little girl's like into crystals and she loves the moon and she loves mushrooms. And I just find that symbolism just insane right now, just because some of the coolest people I know and very down to earth are into crystals and love them and partake in mushrooms. And I just find that connection just to very peculiar, very interesting. I find that fascinating. But yeah, man, I would say that immediately, whether I recognized it or not, she definitely changed the view that I had on women. I would say that growing up, I'll admit I was quite the bit of the fuck boy growing up, and having my daughter at first, I was kind of not. I would say I didn't like own the fact that I had a daughter at first. I didn't like put her. I always saw her from the very beginning. I've always been a dad to her. She knows that. There's never a month that's gone by that I haven't seen my daughter. I've always been there, but I didn't have her like on my social media. I didn't talk about her, things like that. Only my really close friends knew about her. And then it wasn't until like I was in college. So I had her my junior year, and it wasn't until like my freshman year of college, I was tripping on some mushrooms in my dorm room. And I just had this like huge realization of just like how awesome my life was. And I just was very stuck. Before that, I was very like in my own little bubble. I was very selfish. I was just almost naive, I think is a better word. Like I just didn't have, I don't know. I don't know if I was just very reclusive because I was kind of subconsciously upset at the world, maybe. I don't know what it was, but that cracked me, dude. That cracked me. And I mean, physically, it just made the tears flow. Mentally, I just like, it was almost like I wish I was my roommate being able to see me, because it was almost like I couldn't write as fast enough. Like all of the synapses are just firing in my brain, just putting things together. And I think from that point on, that's when I really started to take a different stance with her. And I don't know, man, she's just given me such a different outlook on life, just with, how I see women, how I'm appreciative of little things, and also just feeling that unconditional love. You know what I mean? I think that that's one thing that my daughter changed in me is I think maybe I felt a lack of love, and I don't know what it came from, because I have very loving parents and very loving friends, but she gave me that fire that I think I needed in my life. You know, she almost saved me in a sense. Just because whenever I see her, it's just impossible not to, just fall in love with her. You know, I see pictures of her and it's just like, I don't know, man. Like you see your face on this little person and she somehow makes you look way cuter than you are, and it kind of gives you some confidence of like, oh, maybe I'm that kind of cute, you know? But people tell me I look like her all the time. But I don't know. She's just such a breath of fresh air, and I strive to get to a point where I can have her a lot and take her to different places just because the way she sees things is just, I try to have like a childlike nature about me, and I appreciate it. I think I, I am, just like younger, I guess, in a way, but I'm not going to throw it away. That's one thing that my grandpa always told me is to not throw away that kid that's in you because some people lose it and they don't get it back or they struggle getting it. But she definitely just makes things fun, man. Like she just finds the coolest thing. She makes the most out of every little situation. Like she's, I don't know, she's just fun to have around, man. So I forgot what the question you had asked me was. Like things that she had changed in me,
Yeah,
maybe.
just if she changed, you answered it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think that's what I would say, and I'm still figuring it out. I don't want to act like I have all the answers. I just got a book right now that's I can tell it's pretty powerful. It's called Conscious Parenting. I can't remember how I got recommended it, but it has all kinds of accolades and New York Times bestseller and all that stuff. And it's just talking about how our kids can help us reach that level of enlightenment. And I kind of feel like I'm in this race to reaching that point because, like I said, she's intelligent. She's all these little kids are getting exposed to the internet, and we live in the day that we live in. So the older she gets, she's 9, she could start hitting adolescence soon, going through puberty and all that, because the girls hit it earlier. That kind of stuff intimidates the fuck out of me, but it's
Hmm.
also exciting because I have to stay ahead of her. You know what I mean? I have to stay ahead of her. I have to. Now the answers flow, but she's going to start asking some questions later. Let's just speed up a little bit. Let's say 3 years from now, she's going to be 12. She's definitely through puberty by now. I'm not even going to be 30 yet. I'm still going to
Right.
be in my 20s trying to figure shit out, So it's, I try to read my books and ask questions to people and get this figured out, but it's kind of scary sometimes. That's why, sometimes I would trip and kind of be afraid of it. But then, you realize like buckle up, dude. Like she's not going anywhere. She's just gonna keep on growing. Like, dude, she's up to my chest now. Like
That's pretty
it's
tall
crazy. She is
for
tall.
9.
She is
Woo,
tall.
good
Yeah, that's what
genes.
I'm
Is
saying.
that from her
I'm
mom's
the
side?
short one.
They
It's from my
tall.
side of the
It
family.
is your
I mean,
side.
her mom's her grandma on her mom's side pretty tall, but my dad's 6 foot. I've got a couple of uncles that are 6'4". I've got a cousin that's 6'4". I think I just got my mom's 5'5", so got the short end of the stick. But
No
I can't
pun
complain.
intended.
No pun intended. But yeah, she is tall and just freaks me out, man. She just had a birthday party in February and I went. It was Alice in Wonderland themed. I'm sure you saw the picture on my Instagram. Well, my main Instagram. I don't know if you saw my main one, but I dressed up as the Mad Hatter and we let her send out invitations this time to her friends, and her best friend Chloe came through. And I'm telling you, I was like, there was a moment where I was like sitting there with Chloe's mom, and I was watching Serenity and Chloe play, and they were just talking and being girls, and I'm just, fuck. You know what I mean? I was just watching her, and she has like her clear face, bless you. She has like
Thank you.
her face, and just she's got her getting her little kid teeth in, and she was in her Alice in Wonderland dress that I bought her, and like her that other Chloe's another little crackhead. They're both on one all the time, and just watching them interact with each other, I was just like, oh shit. Like she's 9, we're barely getting here. It's like let's just wait. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited for where I'm gonna get to in life and all the places that I'm gonna get to take her. I took her to ACL last year now for the first time. I didn't
Oh
even
yeah.
know what festivals were until I was like 20.
Yeah.
I didn't go to my first festival until I was like 20. I was like, let me take my 8-year-old. Let's see how this goes.
Let's
You
see
know,
how this goes. What could
I
possibly go
did.
wrong?
I think I'm pretty
It went good
experienced.
though. You both had
Amazing.
fun.
We did. And she's a trooper. She made it all the way until the very end, and I felt bad. She was kind of like whimpering when we were walking
Was
back,
it
and like
one day or how long
we
does?
did it one day. We
Okay.
didn't do the whole festival. I don't know if she'd be able to do that. Maybe. She woke up, but did do it. We went out at like 5 or 6, so we went there like the whole day. But I mean, for an 8-year-old, I did carry her for a lot of the time, which is why I was gonna say earlier she didn't let me carry her at the end, despite how tired she was. Um, but it was great. I want to give a shout out to my friend Alexis, who had us go over to her place before because she lived just a few blocks from Zilker, walking distance. She did like space buns in her hair, and she put like sparkly all over her hair. I helped her their outfit. I bought her like a crystal necklace with a moon because I knew she liked crystals in the moon, so I got her a necklace with both. And one thing that made me feel good about that is she didn't take that thing off for a long time. Like her parent mom told me like she never takes it off. I was like, I did, I did one. But yeah, man, I got her in there. Um, we took some pictures, which was really great, and it was just another things where it's like, man, I've got a little girl. Like this is insane because whenever we took the camera out to take pictures of her and to have to tell her what to do, she just started going. She started working, posing and stuff like that. I'm like, where do you see this from? But good time. I got to take her to some of the artists that I actually really like. She saw like Sophie Tucker. I'm not too sure if you listen to house music, but Sophie Tucker, amazing, beautiful music. Zoo, Diplo, Pink. Took her to a little Flume, but then I forgot the visuals that they had at Flume, so like we left there. But I mean, I'm just glad she got to see that experience. All of the people. I mean, she's from the same boisterous town with 1,000 people. I don't know if I use that word correctly, but Batesville, 1,000 people. Um, so I mean, I'm pretty sure there was 100,000 people at ACL. I don't think she's ever seen anything like that in her life. So it's cool. Got her, because I work for the lighting company.
Yep.
Our lighting company lit up the whole silent disco, so I knew the people. So we got like VIP. Like got to sneak through the line, which I don't even think she knew what the hell was going on because her innocent self was like, no, Dad, we're supposed to go this way, like towards the line. And I'm like, no, we're gonna go this way. Like I don't think she understood, but it was just so cute. I made a little video. It's on my Instagram. You can see kind of like a little recap. Her with like her little silent disco headphones, and then there was also a moment, to talk about shuffling for a little bit, where I was shuffling in the crowd at Diplo, and I started like a little circle. I love shuffling for that; it's just so contagious. But we started a little circle, and my friend Alexis and her girlfriends that she was with were just like hyping up Serenity, and she started like trying to shuffle. Like she like had that upbeat in her energy, and like that was just so amazing to see. Like I was just so happy to see that. I can't explain it to you. Just gave me hope, man, because I've tried to teach her before and she doesn't want to teach. She don't want me to teach her, but she's commented on my stuff and I know she sees it. And then whenever they were trying to help her up and get her to shuffle like she did, that was just amazing, man. So it's been really great just kind of putting her into the life that I find to be the good life, people that enjoy being in the moment and listening to music and great conversation. Just I try to just be that for her in the best way that I can. So I think that that's a better way to answer your question of how she's changed me. I don't think I was going really on the right path, but she really brought me back towards it, and she makes it to where like I mean, you listen to country music. What's that? Who I am is who I am with you is who I really want to be. You're so good
Yes.
to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That song makes me think of her. I can't remember who sings that,
Either. But
but
I.
talking
Yeah.
about yeah, that's it. I don't really have to think on her. It's just like do this.
Yeah.
Um,
Two things to tell you.
sure.
First thing is, I don't have any kids. Obviously, I mentioned that. The summer before last, my brother lives in Salem, Oregon. Him and his wife live there, and they have 3 kids. And at the time, they were probably they're going to kill me for saying this. I'm going to be years off, but let's go with like 9, 13, and 16. Sure, why not? 2 were teens, one was a little smaller.
Yeah.
And I went out there and stayed with them for a week. And I definitely noticed that my nephews, and if you listen to this, no offense or anything, just keeping it real. During COVID, they seem to have got a little bit more serious, a little bit more quiet. Maybe it's because of lack of sports, didn't get out of the house as much, but I definitely feel like they all shifted and got a little bit more serious. So one night while I was visiting them, we went out to dinner, and it was this cool spot where there's this giant building with a brewery and a coffee shop and a soda bar inside, and then just all these garage doors and food trucks back up to the garage doors, and there's 30 food trucks. So you want Mexican, it's there. Italian, it's there. Deep fried, it's there. You pick whatever you want, so everyone gets to choose. I want this, you can go get
Nice.
that.
Sounds
So
like a
I
great
went and
spot to
got
be.
it. Was delicious. I got the seafood plate, that came with and potatoes and corn and just like way too much butter and sauce. But the cool thing about it was that they don't give you silverware. This particular food truck did it. They give you a bib and they give you a pair of gloves.
Oh my goodness, that's
So I
awesome.
bib up and I put my gloves on and I'm eating my meal. And at one point, I went to eat a piece of potato and a part of it missed my mouth and the potato goes rolling down my beard and hits my bib. And my little nephew Joshua, the youngest of the three, he points to me, and he's like, "David got oil and fish in his beard." And my instinct at first inside of me was, "Fuck this little kid," you know.
Fuck them kids.
But then I thought, a second later, my mind was, "No, don't do that. Build on this."
Mhm.
And I didn't get anything in my beard. Watch this. And I took up the piece of corn. I intentionally like took the messiest bite, so all this oil and corn just dribbled onto my beard. And then my other two nephews, they looked over because now I got their attention. So like a monster, I just started picking up all this food and I was shoving way too much food in my mouth. So only half was going in my mouth, half was going down my beard. It is disgusting, bro. And then one of my nephews yelled, "You want some rice, Uncle David?" "I don't want my rice." And I was like, "Yeah, I want some rice." I picked up this rice, I shoved it in my mouth. Half of it goes falling down my beard. I look ridiculous, but the magical moment was that these three boys were laughing their asses off. I've never seen them happier. And my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, she was laughing her ass off. My brother was the only one that was like, David, can we reel it in a little bit?" And I was like, "No, motherfucker, because you got kicked out of school for smoking weed on campus. I'm just spilling food in my beer. This ain't nothing." Dude,
Bringing it back.
it was just such a, for me, that was probably one of the best moments of my 2021 is just being able to share that with them and see them just laugh and be happy. And so I don't have any kids, but just like listening to your story about Serenity, it just sort of brought me back to that moment with them, as there's just something so special about like having these little human beings and bonding with them and seeing them laugh and just having those moments. I
Right.
think that's one of those memories that I really hope like 20 years from now we're talking about it, 30 years, 40 years from now when I'm on my deathbed and I'm counting a dozen of my favorite memories. I just feel like that one's going to be there because COVID was such an annoying time of life. And in that moment, our family was able to just step out of everything that was stressing us out and just share a laugh. And it was, dude, it was disgusting, but it was also very beautiful.
I love that, man. That is a beautiful experience. I love that that was with your brother's kids.
My brother's
That's with your
kids.
brother's kids.
Yep.
It's just so much more magical. Like just imagine that moment. Now just imagine all those kids like looking like you. And
Mm.
like whenever Serenity laughs and when she makes faces and stuff like that, it's like I've seen those faces and like those are my faces, you know? And she teaches me a lot about myself or just relates, just gives you that like groundedness because they make the same faces as you. At least Serenity does. I don't have multiple kids, so I can't like speak on that yet, you know, because you know maybe your kid will look like your partner's kid or something like that, or your partner more than you. But yeah, man, whenever they have your face and have the same gestures and stuff as you, it's hard to explain, man. It's just like that's what I'm telling you. That unconditional love factor is there. It's just like you just don't have to be taught that. You can't. It's so hard to explain, man. So I look forward to the day that if you plan on having kids that you
No
get to.
way.
No, my
Thank you.
brother,
Thank you. But I don't think it's for me, man.
like my brother.
I got my dog and I can barely handle him. He triggers me at times and I would like to find someone, a significant other to share my life with one day. That's something
Yeah,
I've always looked forward to be able to share our projects and our work and whatnot. But, man, I like other guys and I don't ever see myself adopting a kid. That'd be the only way it would happen. And I just don't know if I'm responsible and tenacious. I don't know if I'd be a good dad, partly because the desire is not there. I just don't see it for me.
yeah, and I can see that because for me, if you ask me, do I want a kid? The answer is no. Like I do not want more kids right now. I'll tell you, like Serenity, like I wasn't trying to have a kid whenever I was 16
You
years old.
weren't.
I really was
What?
not.
Stop the madness.
But and if she hears that now, she won't be mad, really, especially whenever she gets older. It's like, I love being able to tell her, like, I'm gonna be able to tell Serenity when she gets older, be like, you want to be like me and your mom? You know what I mean? Like, easy way, an easy anecdote,
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Like you know, you've got, you're my brother's age, but I tell my brother, it's like, you still got 10 years to figure it out. And if you are looking for that love, I think that it's not really something. I know some people really do want kids, but I do feel like sometimes those are those people that get married at like 25 or 22, and nothing wrong with that. But I think that it's good that you're figuring yourself out, and you'll figure out kind of who David is and who David likes and the type of woman you like, the type of things you like, figuring out your career and what makes you happy so that you attract that right person. It's good. It's like, it sounds like you're still having experiences with women and you're kind of figuring out what you do and don't like. Well, you said like the 6 months thing, it doesn't last more than 6 months or whatever.
What doesn't?
You said the relationships that you've been in, like something like that, like the 6 months. You said it earlier, something like that.
Oh, I
Which,
said I was alluding to a relationship I was in with another guy, and that
mm,
one only lasted 6 months.
I see what you're
Outside of
saying.
that, I just haven't found anyone. Gone on dates here and there, had plenty of one night stands, but never been in anything long term. I've looked for it, but just haven't found it yet.
I think you will eventually. I think the more you keep doing this, like the things that you love, I think that you'll attract that right person. I think you're in a really great city for it. I think a lot of people here are very open and excited to have fun. I think once you find and kind of go into those spaces of maybe the type of person you're looking for, because I believe that, where people say not to find somebody that's into like the same things as you because it kind of be the demise of it. I don't believe that. I would like to find a girl that's like into shuffling, into fitness,
Ooh.
also works with the camera and stuff like that. I don't find it as a competitive thing. I find it as kind of like a how do you say, just like a very like
Organically?
yeah, symbiotic relationship. You know what I mean? Like we'll
Yeah,
feed off. I don't know if symbiotic's the right word, but just one of those things where we're helping each other out. Um, but yeah, man, I really do think that exists out there. I really do believe that love exists out there. I think that for some of us, like it's good to find I think it's good to find that love within ourselves first, I think.
agreed.
And I don't know where you're at, and but I do believe like that needs to happen first, because I've seen too many of my friends' relationships fall apart because that's not there. And I have friends that are very smart and very driven and stuff like that, and they stay in these relationships because I don't know if it's like a sunk cost or what
Hmm.
it is, but it seems like now I'm starting to get old enough to where there's enough statistics, data behind this to where those friends are wanting to just figure it out for themselves. They start to travel or they move to another city or they change their job or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that really puts you onto a level where you're going to attract that person, because I I'm to the point now where it's like I don't want to be. I started recognizing like the type of women that I was attracting, and it's like maybe you need to start working on yourself so that you can attract a different type of
Hmm.
person.
Yeah.
Take women out of the picture. Um, so yeah, I can't remember. There was another thing I wanted to talk to you about. Uh, we were talking about the kids, and I was gonna talk about how you have like a decade, and like that maybe whenever you find that person that you'll change your mind. It's like I think
Maybe. You're
maybe
right.
you'll have
I
that
I don't
perspective. That's what I tell my brother too, because my brother is like completely like, nah, man, no kids. Like,
I try I'm at a point in life where I don't believe any of my opinions are set in stone
that's what I'm
about
saying. Like,
anything.
things could change
If you
so
came to
fast.
this podcast, or if we met in a coffee shop or at the dog park and you presented me with a viable argument as to why my belief in X could potentially be wrong, I legitimately would look into it and be like, sure,
Right?
because I don't know everything.
Right.
I love
And
my dog and my family. That's about as firm as my beliefs are. Anything else, yeah, I might want to, adopt a kid one day. Like, could happen.
yeah, the world's
Could
out there,
happen.
man. There's so much. Like, and I keep getting proven that every day. The more I keep throwing myself out there and putting that energy out there, like we were talking about earlier, the more the world just keeps showing me that like a lot of this stuff you see through the phone or you see on TV, it's out there. There's so much stuff out there, and I'm very grateful that I grew up in the small town, like very like where I was, because I'm just always in this like state of awe whenever I
Hmm.
get there. It's like you see some stuff on TV, and then you like go out, and like right now is a really great time to kind of go out. If I were you, during South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with
Nope.
that? Oh my goodness.
Someone
Okay.
told me about it today. He was like, I planned out my whole South by Southwest. I was like, you checked in for your flight home? And he looked at me like I was. What are you talking about? Now I sort of know what it is. I still don't really know, but I'll
Yeah.
Google it after you leave or something.
Yeah, check it out, man. They have like a whole app out there for it. It's very notorious. Like in my music classes that I've taken, when they're making a reference or kind of just giving a general topic of like festivals or something in the music industry of like a nationwide or a worldwide event, South by Southwest is always named. And locals will tell you that it's not what it used to be, and I can kind of see that. Um, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but I've talked to some people, and just some of like the big hitter things aren't out here as much. I don't know if there's like a different lens that South by has now, or they're going after a different audience. I'm not too sure. I don't want to get into that because, like I said, to me, coming from the country, all of the stuff here, well, people like when they want to shit on ACL, the lineup sucked this year or whatever. It's like, yeah, like maybe it's not its glory day, but I love this shit. I didn't have this back home.
Yeah.
We had one gas station and a blinking light in a restaurant. My godfather owned. A lot of stuff out here is really exciting to me. Um, but yeah, South by Southwest, man, they like shut down blocks of the downtown. Um, and corporate companies, there's a film sector of it, there's a tech sector of it, and there's a music sector of it, which is the most popular part, and I guess which dates back the furthest. But they have the whole convention center downtown with a bunch of exhibits that you can go to. There's official events that you can go to. They'll have screenings in the film area. They'll have, I mean, you're in tech, no, you recruiter, but if you're into tech, they have like a whole lot of exhibitions, like where you can kind of see, and they'll tell you about the product, like AI stuff. They have a lot of VR stuff there too. And then the music side of it at night, I mean, even tonight, it started already. There's a lot of different showcases, whether they're official South by showcases that you have to have the badge or pay to get into, or unofficial South by showcases where you can pay or they're free, that you can go to.
Is it
Um,
annual every other year?
Every year,
Every year.
during
Okay.
spring break, they'll do South by Southwest. It's an international thing. People will come from all over the world to come to this thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge, man. Like
This is why I moved here for shit
South by
like
Southwest
this.
is huge, brother. So if I were you, I would 100% just go take a walk downtown.
Okay.
And figure out, do some research. It can be a bit daunting because there's a shitload of stuff. I'm telling you that now.
Okay.
If you have some local influencers or media sources or friends that like to go out there, hit them up first, because I always like to have the shit that trickled down. I'm not gonna really spend time looking through all the descriptions and like, oh, this is this type of music or these people are from here. I'm not really good at that. So
Sure.
I love having a vast network of friends, so I can just start clicking on my story and be like, oh, where are y'all going?
Yep.
Or you'll have those people. But yeah, man, it truly is a great place. It's a place where you can go downtown and see celebrities. Like there's like I'll show you some really cool thing. Are you into Transformers? Like I saw my friend Sabrina just put something on her story that caught my eye. I was like, wow, that looked really cool. It's basically like a little amusement park downtown. So she put like, look at that. A Transformers Porsche exhibit. There's like a full size Optimus Prime there. Like I'm telling you, bro, like millions of dollars down there right now.
Should go out there and find some podcast guests.
Dude, you should.
Should.
You really should, or other podcasters.
Is it all
like,
outside? Do you see people walking around with their
everywhere.
dogs, or should I not bring them in case I want to go
everywhere.
inside?
I do not know. Dog that will inside is limited because that's up to
Maybe I'll just leave them here.
their idea. Yeah. Maybe you could go the first day by yourself and then
Bring him the second or
the
something.
second day. Yeah, but I'm telling you, it is everywhere. Like south, but downtown is South by. That's why you'll see memes where people will have like quickest route to get from South to North Austin during South by Southwest, and it'll have like a map where they like routed it to LA and then like
Oh,
you
Jesus.
just like all the way around
Oof.
the country. It's like bad. Yeah, don't try to go downtown if you're not trying to get caught up in the mix. But yeah, dude, I have nothing but mostly great things to say about South by Southwest, and the reason I just say mostly is parking is fucking ass, but we always find a way around it. Once you're down there, it's great, man. You'll really meet a lot of people, and I think if you're just like we were talking about, just being open and being yourself to whoever you're trying to talk to, the ones that you gravitate or that don't gravitate towards you, whatever. It's all a numbers game.
Yep.
And then you'll
Yep.
eventually find somebody that's just as interested in talking to you as you are them. And, if they're down there at South by for a reason, they must be interested in something that's down there.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of it.
Sweet.
Definitely recommend going down there. I want to go there. I'm still a noob myself. This is my second year that I'm actually participating in some South by stuff. So I'm excited to see what I find.
Well, let's wrap this thing up. Daniel.
Sure.
Dude, this is, it's funny because I never got to telling you this, so I'll just tell you now. I'm a recruiter for a living. I find people on LinkedIn. I usually put in just like phrases and different things that I want to find, and then I message them and I hope for the best that they want to work with us. So I just took that exact same skill set, applied it to Instagram.
Nice.
I think I found you through, I was either looking up gyms and then just clicking through things, and if the profile was like blank in the bio, so I wasn't sure like anything about this person, I would just move on.
Yeah.
But there is something in your bio that caught my eye, and I think it was just the shuffling aspect plus fitness, and I thought this guy seems interesting, so I sent you a message, and it's a little from my end. I was talking with my friend who has a podcast. He has like 130 plus episodes, 5,000 plus listeners. A quick shout out, his name is Marcus. The podcast is called Recruiting Trailblazers. If anyone is in sales, marketing, recruiting, or if you just want some very interesting interviews to listen to, I would highly check it out. The reason I give him a shout out and will continue to help give him a shout out is because he helped make all this happen. Like, I don't know if this podcast would have happened without his mentorship and his friendship. But I bring that up to say that he mentioned, it's an intimidating thing when you're sort of blindly reaching out to people because you have no idea who you're inviting through your front door, especially when you're doing it in this format. His are all online. He never invites anyone to his home, but I told him, I was like, there's like a magic in connecting with people that I don't feel like this conversation would have been anywhere near as good as it was if we did this over Zoom or Crowdcast or whatever the platform is. So first off, I just want to thank you for taking the time to go to a stranger's house to record a podcast on a Friday night when you had a super busy week. But with that being said, along with saying thank you, I'm so grateful that I met you because you're just like this ball of life and energy. I feel like you have a very good head on your shoulders. You're very perceptive. You're very thoughtful. I love your view on like homelessness, man, because that's something to me that, I have some friends that have experienced homelessness, and once you have people that who hit the streets, it becomes a completely different you have a different relationship to that population now, because now it's not just people. It's like that's my buddy Christian that's out there on the streets. And I have no idea to this day what he's doing, where he is, if he's addicted to drugs, if he's dead, he's alive, and so my perception has shifted. And I'm really, thankful that somehow that topic came up and that we were able to talk about it. And maybe through this discussion, someone from Rockford, Illinois will be like, yeah, why aren't we disseminating this information to other cities? Who knows? But I'm just so incredibly grateful to have got to met you, and I hope that we can hang out again in the future. And yeah, that's about all I got, man. Thank you so much for showing up tonight.
Absolutely, man. I'm very grateful I'm very thankful that however you found me, whatever page that was, the fitness aspect or the shuffling aspect, I'm thankful that I was able to be put up by the algorithm, and I'm thankful that my bio had something in there that grabbed your attention because it is funny, even on the other side of it, it's like, I'm like, you great. I'm going to a random stranger's place and I'm going into their house, My mom, if I told my mom this, when she hears it, if she listens to this, she'll be like, like,
what are you doing?
She knows I do some shit.
Why don't you bring your older brother with you?
But it's just like, to me, I just really have that mindset of like, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I'm this kind of thing. I'm not walking into a dark alley in the middle of, 3 a.m. in some other place. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for having me into your home, and thank you for serving me some great drink and having me meeting your pet. Thank you for having me as one of your guests on your podcast. It really has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for listening to me. And I look forward to maybe coming back or grabbing a drink with you sometime.
You'll be back. Just to wrap this up, everyone, this is a brand new podcast, so if you liked it, please actually like it. If the platform you're listening on allows that, ring the bell so you're alerted to new episodes. Go to the Instagram page. It's just David Saturday Night Sit Back, all one word. And if you hear this and you're either living in Austin or you're going to be visiting Austin and you'd like to be a guest, either message me on Instagram or send an email to sitbackwithdavid@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening, and have a great night.